И вашему вниманию 8-раундовый поединок в супертяжелом весе. И первым в черный угол добро пожаловать боксер из Владикавказа. Встречайте, Виталий Kudukhov.
Well, welcome once again, or good evening if you're just joining us from the SK Arena in St. Petersburg in Russia as we continue with the fight action from IBA.Pro 10. It's been a magnificent bill of bouts so far, and the action continuing thick and fast here as we move up to the heavyweight division. And here is Vitaly Kudukhov, 36 years of age, from Vladikavkaz in Russia, former participant in the WSB. Commentated on him back in the day in that 5-round format where the top Olympians faced off against one another. Back on the IBA.Pro stage after making his debut in January of this year. More on that in a moment.
Bakhodir Jalolov.
And here is a man who needs no introduction, the big Uzbek, Bakhodir Jalolov, 31 years of age. Here's the man from Uzbekistan. Brings a perfect professional fight record to the ring, but more impressively, more imposingly, more significantly, the two-time reigning back-to-back Olympic super heavyweight champion, the two-time world champion in the 3-round format as well, the southpaw 6'7" giant, the best boxer in the world, stepping over that top rope like Thunderlips as he makes his way back into the boxing ring to face off against the tough veteran in the form of Vitaly Kudukhov. Bakhodir Jalolov back in the boxing ring once again.
Ему 36 лет, его рост 185 сантиметров, а вес 101,5 килограмма. Его профессиональный рекорд 7 побед, включая 3 победы нокаутом при 3 поражениях. Дамы и господа, он мастер спорта международного класса, победитель первенства мира и первенства Европы среди юниоров, победитель 8-ки короли нокаутов из Владикавказа, Россия. Приветствуйте, Виталий Kudukhov. А вот и его соперник в золотом углу ринга. Ему 31 год. Его рост 2 метра ровно, а вес 112,7 килограмма. Профессиональный рекорд безупречен. 15 побед, включая 14 побед нокаутом и ни одного поражения. Дамы и господа, двукратный олимпийский чемпион Токио 2020 и Париж 2024, чемпион мира 2019 и 2023, чемпион Азии, победитель азиатских игр в супертяжелом весе из Ташкента, Узбекистан. Приветствуйте, Bakhodir, большой узбек, Jalolov, не знающий поражений.
So there, a look at the tail of the tape. Bakhodir Jalolov, 5 years younger, 16 centimeters taller, because according to my measurements, unless you shrunk, Spencer, he's 201 centimeters tall, and a considerable advantage in weight as well. Mr. Referee, Mr. Sergei Zhurkin with the final instruction.
Box.
So we're underway then. This is super heavyweight action scheduled for 8 3-minute rounds. The southpaw wearing the black trunks. Are they black Spencer or dark green? I'm not quite sure. I think they're green trunks trimmed with gold. And that is Bakhodir Jalolov, the big Uzbek. 2.01 meters tall, weighing in at 112.7 kilograms. Sharp shooting southpaw who comes to the boxing ring as the reigning 2-time Olympic champion, as a 2-time world champion. As ringside, as was Spencer in Paris at Roland Garros last year to see him claim his 2nd consecutive super heavyweight gold. And at the conclusion of that tournament, which was the final day of the Olympics, if you remember, Spence, he emulated the gesture of his fellow Olympic great Mian Lopez, the 5-time Olympic wrestling champion from Cuba, who placed his boots in the middle of the wrestling circle. The big Uzbek Bakhodir Jalolov placed his jersey in the middle of the Olympic boxing ring beneath the lights at Roland Garros at the Port Philippe Chatrier, suggesting that he may well have called time on the 3-round format of his boxing career. Will he now begin to make a run at the top prize as a professional? He's an undefeated pro, Spence, 15 wins out of 15, going the distance for the first time on his return to action in April of this year, and he's facing off against Vitaly Kudukhov, former WSB participant, and he was a national championship silver medalist, losing to Sergei Kuzmin in the national final some 15 years ago. First of multiple titles for Sergei Kuzmin, but that an idea of this man's credentials in the 3-round format. And as you can see, to make up for his lack of bulk and inches against Bakhodir Jalolov, he's bringing the fight to the big Uzbek, but he's picked off by a southpaw bolo left hand, followed by a stiff right jab.
Yeah, Kudukhov is going to find it very, very difficult because he's going to have to close that space. As we know with Jalolov, he's an excellent campaigner, brilliant boxer. That's what took him to win 2 gold medals at different times in the Olympics. We was very fortunate, myself and Ron McIntosh, to be there at ringside in Paris last year and witness something very, very special. He's done nothing wrong as a pro so far, and this is why, boxing out the southpaw stance. He's long, he's rangy, spins off his shots so well. Kudukhov just landed a little shot there. That will give him a little glimmer of hope. But yeah, it's a good performance by Jalolov, and looking forward to seeing him progress in the professional ranks. One thing we don't know about him is, can he tough it out when it gets late, when you get into those penultimate rounds and the physicalities leave you and it becomes a mental battle? We will find all that out, but he's certainly a big, big prospect.
Stop!
So closing seconds of the opening round, and there's the bell. And to pick up on the point that Spencer Oliver, the former European super bantamweight champion and my verbal sparring partner tonight, to pick up on the point that he was making, he was back in the ring for the first time since we commentated on him in Paris, Spencer, in April of this year, and he's put Igor Serabutski to the floor in the 3rd round, but he got back on his feet, and Jalolov had to do exactly what you described. He had to tough it out and win over 10 rounds, because remember, he entered Paris as a 14-fight professional, 14 fights, 14 wins, 14 knockouts, so he did tick that box on his return to action in April of this year, his first bout since Paris 2024.
Bakhodir, не держи. Stop. Stand back. Box.
So into the 2nd round then, start of the year, bitterly cold night in January. I was in Yerevan at the Karen Demirchan Sports Complex in the Armenian capital to see Vitaly Kudukhov fight against David Chalayan, the World Championship silver medalist from the Belgrade edition in 2021. I was ringside to see David Chalayan, the towering soldier from the Armenian army, box his way to the silver medal rostrum. And just as he's doing here, Vitaly Kudukhov brought a rough, tough, rugged approach to the boxing ring. Probably didn't win a round without wishing to be unkind, but he was there at the end of a contest scheduled for L8, still pitching away and still making Chalayan work, and he's bringing those same roughhouse barroom brawl tactics to the chest, quite literally, of the Olympic 2-time champ.
Yeah, you're totally right there, to the chest, or maybe just beneath the chest, if I'm honest. Kudukhov is tough as they come, as you can see, and he's going to have to be here against Jalolov, who's tall, rangy, carries a good whack as well, and it's going to be a tough night. Lovely 1-2 through the middle there from Jalolov. Can he build on that as the right hand goes? And already Kudukhov looking a little one-dimensional, isn't he?
They has that quality of being as tough as they come. Mentioned the fact that he fought for the Russian team in the 5-round format of World Series boxing. And of course, things have evolved in IBA boxing since that time. But during that run, He fought against Vitaly Kudukhov, where he lost on a disqualification. That was on the road in Astana. Fought against Eris Landy Savon in Havana in Cuba. Beat Filip Hrgovic over 5 rounds. Lost to Magomedrazul Majidov over 5 rounds. Lost against Clemente Russo in the team final at the XL Arena in London in 2012. I was ringside for that in the team final of World Series boxing. But that is an idea of the caliber that this 36-year-old veteran has fought over the course of his IBA boxing career. He's been in with the very best, never shied away from competition, and my goodness, he's in with one of the very best to ever do it, as the loose-limbed Uzbek continues to pepper him with long shots out of that southpaw stance.
Yep, Jalolov boxing well here, lovely 1-2s. And let's see if we go through the gears as we go through the rounds, because Kudukhov is going to find things very, very difficult. He's doing the best of his ability, and that is by stalking forward, looking to get inside and land that single shot. But I'm not sure that's going to be enough against Jalolov, who's a seasoned campaigner, who has had that experience in the professional ranks as well, and will be looking to get a victory here and move on to bigger and better things and fast tracks as well. I think that's where we're at right now with Jalolov. You will be hearing, he is world ranked at the moment in certain governing bodies. We will be hearing a lot more of his name, but it's going to be interesting to see how the next 12 months pan out for him, because he is a big name who maybe people don't really want to mix, because as you've seen there in those opening couple of rounds, he's awkward, he's a southpaw, very loose, elusive, puts the shots together well. All that you don't want to box in a professional fighter.
So all of the highlights and credentials Spencer Oliver has pointed out, but this man you know will be there competing until the very end, as you see some of the action from that round, Spencer. And Vitaly Kudukhov, when I was there in Armenia in January, it's almost as though Chale had accepted that Kudukhov was going to be there, and so he had to step off the gas because he hit him with everything. And the man kept on coming and was still in his face and still in his chest and still putting the laces of his gloves into his face, looking to make it as rough and tough as possible. Will he seek to apply similar tactics here today? As off the back foot, which has become such a characteristic of Jalolov's boxing, and just flicking out that southpaw right jab. But when it lands with 112 kilograms behind it, and he pivots off that back foot to encore the left cross, he can be a devastating puncher. In addition to his global honors, I was there at the Humo Arena in Tashkent to see him claim his second World Championship gold, but you see he's been made to look uncomfortable. And just as we said, Spencer, forearms, laces, heel of the gloves, everything going into the face of Jalolov from Kudukhov.
Yep, welcome to the professional boxing ranks. If the referee's not going to pull you up on it, you're going to get away with it. It's called the fight game. You know, that's what they do in there. If they can get away with the tactics, they certainly will. And Kudukhov is absolutely trying to do that. He's trying to, you know, mix up or mess up the game plan here of Jalolov, who's been boxing very nicely, but very within himself. And what we need to see, this could be excellent matchmaking here by Team Jalolov, because he's got a guy here in Kudukhov who is very tough, as Ron McIntosh has pointed out there, and he's there until the final bell. And I think for Jalolov and his team, this is all about making a statement. Let's get rid of this guy who's teaked up, known to go the distance. And can they do that? But guess what? Jalolov has got different ideas. Kudukhov, sorry, has got different ideas. Look how he's roughing his man up here and trying to make this ugly, and that's exactly what he's got to do.
So just beyond the halfway stage of this third round. Again, in terms of boxing, I don't think Kudukhov is winning the contest, but ask Bakhodir Jalolov, because he will know that he's in a fight here tonight with this barrel-chested brawler. Squint your eyes, he's got a passing resemblance to two-ton Tony Galento. Used to utter that phrase, I moited a bum. Put Joe Louis on the floor before Joe Louis got off the canvas and did what Joe Louis did during his 12-year reign, 25 title defenses as the heavyweight champion of the world. But again, look at the brawling tactics being applied. A headlock beneath the left armpit, and hold that as he digs away to the body with his free right hand.
Yeah, absolutely. He may not, Kudukhov may not be winning the battle, but he's winning the fight, if that makes sense, because He's applying the tactics that he wants to apply. Yes, he may be losing the rounds, but he's achieving what he wants to achieve. And this is good here, a good learning curve for Jalolov at this stage of his career, because he's not experienced anything like this before. This is all new for him, and this is all part of the apprenticeship before stepping up to bigger and better things, because we will see Jalolov in those big fights, but these sort of fights prepare you for them moments.
Well, Kudukhov again seeking to make it as physical as possible. The bell sounds to conclude round number 3. It's a super heavyweight contest that is scheduled for 8. Bakhodir Jalolov receiving instructions of his corner too. That's one of the hardest coaches in Olympic-style boxing there, waving that towel, Spencer. My good friend from the Uzbekistan setup.
Well, unfortunately, I can't give you any sort of translation there. I was trying my hardest, Ron, but I've got a good idea what it was, but not entirely sure.
Well, the man waving the towel and working on the limbs of the big Uzbek is Rakhmat Ruzianuzunov, part of the Olympic boxing team, and of course won Uzbekistan imperious at the last Olympic Games. 5 Olympic golds, including this man wrapping up the proceedings. Kazakhstan hot on their heels. China had a terrific Olympic Games as well. As we move into the 4th round. Swinging with that southpaw left now and getting leverage onto the second one, and another one to back up Kudukhov. Roundhouse left, crashing into the shaven head of Vitaly Kudukhov. And a man as tough as him just had to exhale his cheeks, bite down before stepping back into the fray. But you get the sense that Jalolov has had enough of the barroom brawl tactics being applied, and he's seeking to maintain a gap and just deter the forward forays of Kudukhov with some really heavy leather, particularly from that southpaw left.
Yeah, good work there from Jalolov, and he needed that. I just want to see him go through the gears a little bit. We know that he's safe, and he was in his, he's fighting his safe game there, keeping it at distance, controlling the space, working the straight 1-2s, but now he's starting to plant his feet and really dig in with that left hand. And Kudukhov, trust me, if he continues taking those, surely at some point he'll crack. Body shot whipped in there. You heard it crunching in to the side of the rib cage there of Kudukhov. A man still stalks forward, showing a lot of resilience for sure. How much more of that can he take?
Approaching the halfway stage, quick resumption from Kudukhov, using all of his experience. After the referee separated the two, he let a cluster of punches go. And still trying to get in the face and sit on the chest of Bakhodir Jalolov. He's put an awful lot into these big southpaw lefts, and look at how he wilts down to the canvas there. As the man who is built like a drayman muscles his way inside, looking to unload once again.
Yeah, relentless pressure from Kudukhov. You can't take nothing away from him. He shipped some heavy punishment in those opening 3 rounds, but he's still there, still defiant, still pushing forward. And there you see him landing a couple of shots. And I'll tell you what, Ron, this could get quite interesting if Jalolov is taken into those final few rounds. And where I said to you, he hadn't been tested, to that extent. What I'm saying is, yes, he went to 10 rounds this last time out, but this is a different kettle of fish. What I'm saying is, I want to see him tested as in push, having to dig deep, a bit like, when Lennox Lewis boxed Ray Mercer and you saw him fighting down on the gum shield, and you go, he's really questioning himself and finding that character within himself. This is the type of guy that could cause Jalolov those sort of problems, if that makes sense.
Remember, 6 months out of the ring since his first time hearing the final bell in his contest in April. Prior to that, it was 8 months out of the ring after his Olympic triumph. And now Jalolov, after planting his feet at the start of the round, gliding around the boxing ring with a litheness that belies his 112.7 kilogram bulk. But did he just want to disengage in the closing moments of that round? It's another round that Jalolov has won on the scorecards. But again, Vitaly Kudukhov is letting him know that he is in a fight.
I don't like the body language there. Jalolov, who was dominant, come out, planted his feet, really loaded up with those hands, and you think, okay, this is the statement. This is what it's all about. Get people talking about it. A dramatic change in the pattern there with about a minute to go in the contest. Kudukhov stuck to his game plan, pushed forward. There was the early part. The left hand through the middle, the big one that went through, and another one flush there, and you go, right, this time now for Jalolov to really establish himself, make a statement, and he can do that if he just turns a screw, goes through the gears a little bit, shows us a little bit of acceleration. But it was Kudukhov who turned the screw and showed us the acceleration and started roughing Jalolov. And the disappointment was Jalolov started backpedaling at a rate where you go, don't let this guy Kudukhov get any momentum, because he's going to start making this a tough fight for you. Interesting to see what happens here.
So into the second half of the super heavyweight contest scheduled for 8, and look at Vitaly Kudukhov. Mentioned his credentials over the 3 formats of IBA boxing. Again, all of those outstanding boxers faced in WSB over 3 rounds. With the national championship bronze medalist losing in the semi-finals of the national champ back in 2012 against Evgeny Tishenko, who went on to take the Olympic title at heavyweight 90 or 91 kilograms in Rio. Faced off against Jai Opataya, Maxim Babinin. So again, he's not any respecter of reputations. And again, Jalolov giving the impression that he's trying to nick this here. He's got a cannon in his southpaw backhand, but he's flicking out pea-shooter jabs while trying to glide around the boxing ring, because to uncoil a southpaw left like that takes a lot of energy. And remember, he's had just 1 fight in 14 months since the Olympics prior to this outing here tonight. And ring rust, despite no matter how well you work in the ring, that absence from ring activity can really drain your conditioning. As a right hand and then a shot on the canvas from Kudukhov. After Jalolov was wilting down to the canvas again, and he's been docked a point for failing to heed the instructions. But make no mistake, at the halfway stage of this 5th round, I think Jalolov was hurt by a shot before being clocked while he was canvas.
Yep, I agree with you, Ron. It was a massive turning point there from Kudukhov, who is really growing in confidence here. Got some great momentum around him. And Jalolov, the body language is not great here. He's on the bike, he's trying to survive, and you nailed it when you said it. He's trying to nick this. He's trying to nick that, and that's not good enough when you're a guy with the with the background that he's got, and 2-time Olympic gold medalist. You need to make a statement against his opponents. They're there for you to blow away, and if you can't do that, that's alarm bells ringing.
So we've had 2 point deductions in this round. One against Vitaly Kudukhov for hitting Jalolov while he was on the canvas after he took a knee. And then Jalolov for excessive holding. He's breathing through a mouth that's open, showing the movement that is one of his assets as the 2-time Olympic champion and 2-time world champ. But look at how he's being roughed up on the inside. Jalolov, absolutely no respect for the reputation or accomplishments of this man. And Jalolov, well, he's breathing through a mouth that's open, and his body language looking rather negative here as he's accepting these roughhouse tactics from this little bruiser from Russia.
You know what? He's not giving off good signs here. He's not giving off good vibes here. He doesn't look like he's comfortable even being there. He's at that moment where he's questioning himself, Jalolov, a lot at the moment. You see him, the body language is not great. He's tried to get on his toes. He's tried to find something from somewhere, but fatigue is definitely setting in. The punch power seems to have gone, and what a round there for Kudukhov. Very disappointing. Look at the body language here, Ron.
Had to drape the top rope after a weary-legged walk back to his corner, and he really is feeling it. And that hardest working coach in IBA boxing is going to have to really pull out all the stops to try and revive his man now, because once again Rakhmat Ruziazunov is working overtime with that towel. And what messages will be coming from the perimeter fence? I don't think this is instruction. I think this is inspiration. Talking about digging deep, accessing your reserves of energy, because Bakhodir Jalolov, the 2-time Olympic champ, the 2-time IBA world champ, I was there when he won the Asian Games in Hangzhou in 2023. I saw him playing the Asian Continental title in 2017 in Uzbekistan. He is under pressure and in a fight here against this sawn-off little buzzsaw of a boxer, Vitaly Kudukhov of Russia.
Yeah, well, here we go. I tell you what, that conversation would have been in the corner there, because it's not about the physicalities now, which we know that Jalolov has got, and that's what took him to 2 Olympic gold medals. But now this is about the psychological battle. We see now how mentally strong he is. If he can cut it in a professional boxing ring, we've seen former Olympic champions that haven't quite cut it in the boxing ring because they're not mentally strong enough. Jalolov now, we find that out right now because Kudukhov is going to test him. He's going to push him. And let's not forget this, Ron. This is not a guy at top level here. This is a guy that's, you know, he's good for opponents like this to test them and see. But Kudukhov here actually fancies this. He thinks he can win this one.
Again, when I was ringside in Yerevan in January, this is exactly the type of tactical approach that he brought to the boxing ring against David Chalayan, the 2021 World Championship silver medalist at super heavyweight. But Chalayan was sharp enough after his Olympic exploit to fend off the marauding little boxer from Russia. Jalolov is finding this an altogether more difficult endeavor, and encouraged by success to let go clumping combinations like that is Vitaly Kudukhov, as Jalolov almost turning his back near the ropes on the far side of the ring.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much he fancies this right now. He wants to hold, he looks uncomfortable, he looks disengaged here, Jalolov, and I'm telling you, he is coming apart here. He's not showing any sort of mental strength, any sort of resilience at all. He looks like he's falling to pieces. And now for Kudukhov, who's very experienced, he'll be gaining all that, sucking all that energy out of Jalolov. And this is worrying times for the double Olympic champ because he looks a shell of himself at the moment.
Up on his toes, trying to get some dynamism into his work, flicking out a southpaw right jab, which Kudukhov runs into. But again, look at that, it's Jalolov who's having to initiate the clinch as Kudukhov fighting his way through the commands, a little bit of a forearm beneath the jaw. He won't mind if he gets points deducted because the manner in which he's going about his work, he gives the impression that he feels he can secure an inside the distance finish here.
Yep, he certainly does. He's going for it. He knows he's probably going to need the knockout to win this one. He lost the first 3 or 4 rounds to Shaw. The 5th round, he might have turned it around, but you've got to remember Jalolov is on home ground here. He's going to really have to win wide on points to get the decision.
So closing seconds of the 6th round, and Bakhodir Jalolov is conditioning really being contested here. Look at his legs, he can barely keep his stance. Throws a southpaw left uppercut while wilting back towards the ropes. But again, it's an awful lot of bulk to carry around at 112 kilograms at 6'7" or 201 centimeters. And the punches that were so heavy and sharp in the first 3 rounds of the contest, well, they've taken on a more ponderous, languid quality here now. And it's another rubbery-legged walk back to the stool. Thankfully, it was in position on this occasion, and he didn't need to drape himself over the top rope. But Bakhodir Jalolov in a real test of soul with 6 minutes of boxing remaining.
Yeah, going to be an interesting 6 minutes, isn't it? Here we see round number 6, some of the action. Jalolov trying to keep that distance, keep that space. The jab there, lovely. He landed a couple of nice left crosses through the middle as well. But Kudukhov is that guy that's tough, rough, loves having a fight, and he's very comfortable in there. The limitations that he has on the technical ability, he makes up for with roughness, toughness. And he is dragging Jalolov into a dogfight. We're finding out more about the double Olympic champion I think we ever have. And these next 6 minutes are going to be tough.
So we move into round number 7. Mention the fact that Bakhodir Jalolov was in the ring in April for the first time since his Olympic triumph in Paris, but he's been beset by bad luck during this calendar year. He was supposed to have a fight in February against David Spilmot, but that was cancelled by the California Commission because Jalolov was ill after the weigh-in. Said it was a minor incident, a condition that he's had since childhood, which gets aggravated when he travels or changes city. As again, Kudukhov in with the forearm, in with the head, and look at Jalolov rubbing his nose. And then prior to that, or later than that, he was supposed to fight on July 26th at the Felt Forum, the Madison Square Garden Theatre. But that bout against Gianmarco Cardillo, the 12-1 and 2 heavyweight, that was cancelled also. So scheduled bouts have fallen through, and now he has got his hands full in a contest which I think he's winning on points. And now he seems to have got his second win because he is up on his toes and flicking out a jab that is maintaining a gap between himself and the on-rushing Vitaly Kudukhov. Has he come through the bad patch?
Yep, he was having a bad patch, wasn't he? But he has got that second win. He's up on his toes. But look at Kudukhov. He wants to make a fight of this still. Respect to the man. He's pushing forward and he's trying and he's making it hard for Jalolov, who now does seem to have found a second wind, and that's good to see because he's got some sort of rhythm and spring in his step now. And that was important because there was a moment there, wasn't there, where Jalolov just come to pieces, looked very fragile, not just physically but mentally as well. And that will give opponents in the future hope for sure, because there are fragilities around Jalolov, and I think they can be exploited in the professional boxing ring. But thankfully, he's got his game back together and looks in control.
So a minute remaining in the 7th round, and now Jalolov up on his toes, using all of the space of the boxing ring, making the marauding Kudukhov miss. But Kudukhov still in there, trying to wrestle back the momentum that he established through round 3, through rounds 4, 5 and 6. Particularly in round number 5, which was an incident-filled affair when Kudukhov was doctor point for hitting Jalolov while he was on the floor. And then Jalolov was doctor point for excessive holding in the midst of his bad patch, where he appeared as though he was wading through treacle at times, but he's altogether sharper and more dynamic here. But he's still cutting a rather weary figure deep into the 7th round of a super heavyweight bout scheduled for 8. On the front foot once again, quickening his feet as he seeks to walk him down is Kudukhov. Another forearm to the chest plate of Jalolov. Sharp 1-2 from Jalolov, followed by a roundhouse left, which wasn't sharp, but it did find a target, as did the follow-up southpaw left, and the final bolo shot to land before the bell. Good response from Jalolov, because he appeared to have come through that physical bad patch he endured through rounds 4, 5 and 6.
Yeah, weathered the storm, hasn't he? You can see the finish line. It's good for his development, this, because he's had to go through some emotional turmoil in there for sure. The trainers in the corner, who you were talking about, Ron, I think have done a great job. They've got him back into the fight. He controlled that round 7 and needs some of the action with that. That lead right southpaw jab has been peppering him all night, getting through with some good shots. That right hand, the left hand, backhand has been very effective as well. The one shot I don't like from Jalolov is that lead uppercut that he does, because when he does that, he leans back, leaves his chin exposed, and at a high level, he will be made to pay. Maybe something to work on for Jalolov, but all in all, it's been an interesting fight, entertaining fight, and I think 3 minutes to go, anything can happen.
So Spence Rolland has pointed out again, continuing to fight on the edge of the rule box is Vitaly Kudukhov, disregarding the referee's admonishments about his infractions and seeking again to just take it to Bakhodir Jalolov and rough him up at every possible opportunity. But Jalolov up on his toes and spearing out a flicking jab, and it's doing damage. It's disrupting the forward advance of Kudukhov, and here he brings that spearing left cross into play before spinning off the line once again. Yeah, impressive stuff from Jalolov. Flicking it out, peppering it out as he has been doing, but Kudukhov, that's what I'm impressed with. This guy, he's like a little tank. He's walked forward, he hasn't been disheartened, and he's giving it a real go, making a real contest to this one. This is what I don't like from Jalolov. The way he looks so fragile on the inside, he's happy to get his head lifted up and he wants to complain to the referee. The way that he's pushed down on the floor so easily as well. It feels like there's no physical presence there. You know, what you need as a heavyweight to become world heavyweight champion, you need all those attributes. It's okay, all that fancy stuff and spinning off, but I need to see some dog in you as well. And I've not seen that in Jalolov tonight. Wilting down towards the canvas once again. Kudukhov leaving his head in there, just letting Jalolov feel him. You're on the halfway stage. Jalolov looking for the counter left bolo uppercut once again, only to find Kudukhov living in his chest. And again, Jalolov has got to show, Spencer, as you've been pointing out, that he's not that guy who's only a slick boxer, but he does have that innate toughness and mettle that's necessary. And I'm not questioning whether he has it, but he has to demonstrate it against a little barroom brawler like this.
I want to see some physical presence. I don't want to see him getting manhandled around the ring, because that's what's happening here. As I said, yes, he's winning the battle, but for me, Kudukhov is winning the fight because he's achieving what he wants to achieve. The rounds are going, of course they are, to Jalolov, but I'm not seeing no physical presence in there. He's not stamping his authority. He's not outmanning him. He's getting outmanned in there. Even though he's winning the fight, he's getting outmanned, and I think for a higher level, that's a big, big problem.
Well, in rather joking fashion in the build-up to this fight, he said, Alexander Usyk, I'm coming for you. Because remember, all of the top boys in the heavyweight division are perhaps approaching the sunsets of their professional careers now. They've done everything they need to do. Two-time champ Anthony Joshua, two-time and long-reigning lineal champ Tyson Fury, Alexander Usyk, the current undisputed champ. All of these guys are veterans. Bakhodir Jalolov should be the next wave coming. And he's won the contest, no doubt, but the moral victor, perhaps, and I know there are no moral victories in sport, but Vitaly Kudukhov has really shown that he can hang tough with any super heavyweight transitioning out of the 3-round code in the world, because the Olympic accolade for Bakhodir Jalolov, but the momentum is with Moses Atama, who is flying through the ranks at present.
Absolutely. I mean, look, there's a number of heavyweights you can mention out there. A Jagbus has come to mind. You know, Frankie Sanchez has come to mind. Even Martin Bakhodir, Ajit Kabayel. You go, you know, if this guy's talking about calling out Alexander Usyk, then you've got to make up some ground, and you've got to go through your fighters like Fraser Clark, like Fabio Wardley, like, you know, Justice Hooney. I put my money on all of those on the performance like that against Jalolov, because I go, yes, he won the fight and he looked stylish at times, but there was a fragility around him that I didn't like. He had no physical presence around him. He was getting ragdolled on the inside by the shorter, yeah, very strong guy, but I'd like to see more.
Озвучен судейский вердикт. Аплодисменты этим парням! Итак, по завершении 8-раундового боя обратимся к судейским запискам. Первый судья 77-73, второй судья 77-74 и третий судья 78-72. Таким образом, единогласным решением судей одержал победу и остается не знающим поражений Bakhodir. Большой успех!
So Bakhodir Jalolov, just his second fight in 14 months since the Olympic Games, remains